What's up, everybody? This is Tommy Runs, and this is the Run, Eat, Sleep Show, episode number 72. Today's guest, I'm somewhat new. Well, I think the world is kind of somewhat new to her within the last couple of years. It seems like she jumped on the scene and literally has just been crushing it ever since. You've seen her most recently at the Boston Marathon. She finished first overall American woman. She's 10th place in at the Boston Marathon, and I get to talk to her today, Nell Rojas. She's been really she's come on the scene a little differently than what you kind of normally expect and or you're used to seeing. So this is why I love her so much. I've connected with all of her posts. She's really open, honest, and she just attacks it differently than others. And I really was motivated by her after her first performance in Boston last year. And then she kind of came back to defend her title in 2022. And now I finally get the chance to talk to her. And so let's just keep this open. If you are here watching live, please ask questions. We want to make sure that this is for you. I'm super pumped and nervous to talk to her, but I can't wait to introduce her or bring her to see you guys right now. So here we go. Nell Rojas, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing well. I think it's hilarious that you said you're nervous.
Well, I kind of am though, because I know a little bit about you, but like and sometimes like the people I get to interview, like they're like names that have been around for a long time, so you kind of there's a bunch to know, and it's like I can kind of like feel my
Uh-huh.
way out and all that, but like you seem to like come on and you kind of you got a demeanor about you that's kind of like don't mess with me too, so you know it's a real thing.
That's fun.
Um, no, we'll start off by saying I like the hoodie though. Like I like the loop.
Yeah, it's
I like
nice. It's
that.
Adidas.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Good segue. No, but
Yeah.
so how are you? What are we 2 weeks or so? Are we 2 weeks from Boston or is that 3 weeks ago? It seems like it
2
was
weeks.
yesterday.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah, 2 weeks. Have you started running yet again?
No, no, I haven't started running yet. So I'm dealing with this thing. It's like a tendonitis of the knee-ish area. And so I'm trying to like work through that. And I don't really feel like there's a rush back so much, like 'cause I don't want to like hurt it and have to keep sitting out all summer. So the goal is to sit back and relax and try to get better and do all the stuff like strength training and
Mhm.
cool things like that to try to get myself back together. Do you jump right back into running like as soon as you collect, the medal?
No, no, no. I take 2 weeks off, so I just
Yeah.
ran for the first time today, and
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah,
Well, how'd
yeah.
that
I'm
go?
like, yeah. Um, it felt like I was giving birth. Something's wrong with my pelvis. It was like, okay,
Yeah,
we're
it's like not it's not used to all this stuff going on. I
yeah, it's
mean,
like pulling in weird direction. I don't know.
all right, well, let's just like this is not gonna go normal, I could tell. So what like I think I've heard you say somewhere that you really like it's like I think a post and you're dealing with an injury. I'd like to talk about your injury too, like from 2020. But you kind of talked about it like in a way that you liked or appreciate the feeling of like not being fit and like coming back from an injury or coming back from like a hiatus or something like that. Can you describe that a little bit, or is that accurate? And then like just kind of talk to me about why, because so many of us, slower folks, like probably feel like the need to get back to it right away to stay at this level of
Yeah,
fitness that we have.
yeah. I mean, I think of it as like I empty my cup like completely. Like
Mhm.
especially like heading into the marathon, at the marathon, like it's depleted. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing left. So I think of it as like I need 2 weeks to like completely refill that cup so that I
Yeah.
can like give everything that I've got for the
Yeah.
next 6 months, because I have races coming up. I have, so like I give my, like, I like to take 2 weeks off. I like, honestly, like I like to get like a little chubby.
Okay.
Just like, because like that's like where I like gravitate towards is just like drinking wine, eating good food,
Mhm.
staying up late. And then, it's not like I like love being out of shape. I don't like being out of shape,
It's like I just love it so
but
much.
yeah, it's more like I'm like I like challenges. So every
Yeah.
time I'm like, okay, this is a challenge. Like
Yeah.
I feel like awful.
Yeah.
But like I get to like work into that, and I know
Okay.
like, I'm just patient, and I know it'll be okay.
Yeah, that I mean, then you just gotta trust, the training and I guess it can be like I mean, I've always taken 'cause I've run 3 marathons, so don't, like, make it seem like I've
I've
run a
run
bunch of
5.
them.
I
Well,
don't.
I mean, great, because
Same,
that
same,
means
same.
I'm almost just like you now. Like, we
Yeah,
are almost
exactly.
there. We are almost there.
Exactly.
Um, so,
We'll get there.
uh, yeah, and so after every marathon I've done, I've taken 2 weeks off per my
Yeah.
coach or whatever.
Good.
So, but I
Good.
think that it's really cool. Like you do get really antsy like after a week because you're like, I kind of want to run again, But it's to me, I mean, I love to hear you kind of talk about it because your balance has to be a little different than mine, obviously, because like this is your job or your career right now.
Mhm.
Do you? 'Cause I said something before, like, it's like you have to we go so hard, like, on our goals, like, as runners, like, type A type, and we're just, like, going, 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 miles, 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 all that stuff, but then we have, like, this support system around us that is, like, supporting us from, like, day 1 of training block all the way through to the marathon, and then we just turn right around or whatever race we do, and we turn right around and jump right back out there. Like, I
Mhm.
think sometimes that off time is also a good time to, like, reset and like reset your values, kind of revisit some of the things that we kind of neglected, like wine and good food and Netflix and stuff like that, and family. How do you
Mhm.
feel about like that other side of like the balance part of like life and not just running?
Um, yeah, I think, training for a marathon, like I think everyone who's run a marathon can appreciate like the balance is like skewed and the balance
Hmm.
is way off. And some people come into it like I coach people who are like, I need to stay balanced. Like I
Hmm.
have a family, and I'm like, okay, we can stay balanced. We can
Yeah.
like help you create this schedule that like make helps you stay balanced, and we're gonna like make a goal based off of that.
Right.
Um for me, I am like if I like do let myself go every once in a while, and like these 2 weeks, then I really like the like really diving into training, and
Mm.
like being super focused and diligent. As long as I get like a break every once in a while,
Yeah.
I'm fine. Like if I go out, like if I drink wine and like have like 2 or 3 glasses of wine every 3 months and like kind of let loose, I'm like, okay, that was enough. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can like maintain with half a glass of wine on the weekends. So
Hmm.
that's how I think everyone is so different though.
Yeah, I mean, but I think all of us could like take some. It would. I think it'd benefit so many of us. To just take some time to unwind a little bit. I mean, because obviously the body needs some rest as well, but at the same, especially from a marathon training standpoint, because you really do go through a lot. Of you put your body through a ton, and then mentally though too, like it definitely helps to just take a step back from like constantly chasing and because it's a lot of mental strength to go through a training block, let alone, just live life like normal life. You have to fit it in, you have to, jobs or whatever, kids, family, all that, and then you have to go run. And so that's a lot mentally too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, this last so I ran Boston in October,
Hmm.
and then this last April, like Boston in October, like I went
That's a
so
lot.
deep into the well.
Yeah.
I mean, like the last 9 miles, were like so physically and mentally like whoo in there. So
Yeah.
coming into this past Boston, I was telling my boyfriend, I was like 2 days before, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to go back there yet. Like
Oh, really?
because I don't know if I've like, because they were close together. It's a really hard race.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that was a lot. That's
Yeah, and I was like, I know I can like, perform well, but like I was like, oh, but I got really lucky, and like the morning of, I was like, I'm ready. Like
oh wow.
like
Yeah.
it was like everything came together, and I was like, okay, here we go.
Was it like the was because I got a chance to run the race too, so I was in Boston. Was it
Mhm.
like is it the atmosphere that like got you? together? Like you got there and you're in Boston and like, okay, like now you just had to be there again to be like to lock into that? Because like for like 2 days before or 3 days before, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What was that like kind of made you go, okay, well, I think we're here.
I think it was like just like, the days before the race, there's a lot going on in your mind, right? You have all these worries, and you have all these like daydreams, and you have all these different emotions, like high emotions
Yeah.
coming on, and I think like I just really I had to like hold off on
Yeah.
feeling anything, because I was like just like so almost like in like a shock position
Mhm.
going into this, just with everything going on. And then I just let myself kind of accept the situation and accept what was going to be the
Mhm.
morning of. And that's like the I just needed it to be like right before the race, and like I couldn't have done it any other way. So I think for some reason I got there, and my
Yeah.
body knew how to get there.
Yeah, and so like just for all the like the Boston folks out there that like have done it or going to do it, or they've done it 100 times or whatever. What was like so after, because I think I've heard you say that you were prepared like physically, but you just didn't know, you kind of underestimated possibly like the course and like how it would work out and the difficulty of it the first time around. What changed like from one training block to the next, like after you ran the first one? What changed mindset wise and like kind of plan a little bit going into that second training block?
Um, yeah, I basically ramped up the hills, ramped up the downhills,
Hmm.
because I really think the only way to understand the Boston course is to run the Boston course.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're like people are, people are like telling you like the downhill, and you're like, okay, and people are telling you like the hills, and you're like, okay. So you train a little bit on both, but then like after, I'm sure you had this, you're like, oh, wow, okay, okay,
oh,
okay.
that's downhill.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh, okay." So I think, with that experience, I was able to kind of ramp up the hills, ramp up the downhill.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard to training for Boston is hard, because all I really wanna do is run fast. Like, I really like fast workouts, but
Mhm.
I sacrificed almost all of my threshold runs on to be, like, slow on hills.
Okay.
Like, most of them were slow on hills. And um I think it was easier to sacrifice, knowing that that is what was going
Right.
to pay off in the long run. So I did that this one. I ramped up my mileage a little bit. Um and that's basically it for
Yeah.
my training. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the one thing that, like, for the first time running it, that first mile, what is it, like, a negative, like, 150 feet or
Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah.
It felt like somebody, like, kicks you off a cliff.
Yeah. 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 You're
And
like
then you
keep up with your feet.
yeah, and everybody's like, "Well, take it easy on the first few." I'm like, "How? It's not like this is impossible, like, you can't."
Right.
But, like, and then but for you, it's a little different though too, because you guys go out and it's like everybody's the same pace. So I was able to kinda use the people around to kinda slow down and, not try to, zigzag around people. You don't have to do
Mhm.
that though. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, whoever's watching this, the first mile, it's you're strap on your seatbelt and try your best to stay controlled.
Right. Exactly. Because you could fly, and then before you know it, you're at 5K, and you've PR'd on a 5K, and you're like, well,
Well, hopefully this is a great day.
it was my marathon.
Yeah, exactly, right? But yeah, so we started pretty much at the end. So can we go back to the beginning a little bit? I normally start off the show by asking like, how did you get into running? I know that your father was is as a they call him a legend in his own right for sure. So tell me a little bit like how running started for you, and then we'll kind of make our way to back to the professional life.
Mm, basically, my dad coached. So, my dad's always been a running coach. So, like growing up, I mean, he had a day job, but
Mhm.
growing up, he coached like 100 runners, and his office was in my basement. So they'd come over to my house. I knew them. I still like they're still around. Like a lot of
Right,
them, he still coaches, and I see a
right.
lot of them on the track, and basically just like always being around runners. I grew up like playing on the high jump mats, the pole vault mats.
Mhm.
I ran a little bit, like a very little bit when I was a kid, but then really ran basically in high school. And just like found my passion for it. I played other sports that I also loved, so
Yeah.
like equally basically. So I got to kind of like play basketball in the winter and like take a break from running, and then run track in the spring, and then take a break and travel in the summer, and then run cross country in the fall.
So did your dad, like, help out a lot with running, or was he just kinda, like, let you do your thing and, as you got more serious, he kinda jumped in, or when did he start, like, trying to, like, show you how to run and do it properly?
Oh, I mean, he let my high school coach me, which I think like he kind of had to just like step all the way out, or else he
Yeah,
would, like, interfere. And I think
yeah.
actually I got lucky because I think he made that mistake with my older brothers. So
Oh,
like,
okay.
and then like and then it was like, okay, I'm with the high school coach. So which worked out really well for me. I think I
Mhm.
absolutely should not have been coached by my dad in high school. So it basically like, and then I went to college. I ran in college, and then after
Mhm.
college, he started coaching me.
And so since you're doing great here, you're segueing me really well. So, like, for college, so you walked on, to, Northern Arizona University, right?
Mhm. Yep.
What was that like? Because like, some of the people we talked to are like, they went for they crushed it senior year, and then they
Mhm.
went scholarship and all that. What was that like walking on, to a team like that?
I mean, looking back on it, it was perfect. Like, could
Yeah.
not have been a more perfect place for me. Mainly because like I walked on. The coach didn't expect a single thing from me.
Right,
Nothing. Like, so I had no pressure on me. I had no
right,
expectations.
right.
I didn't feel that at all. So I just got to like kind of perform and work hard and do my
Mhm,
thing. And um, we had at that time there was a really good girls team earlier. There was like we had Ida and Johanna Nielsen from
mhm,
Sweden who had won national championships. We had a bunch of Swedish girls who were really good,
mhm,
and then there was still a couple of those girls on the team that were really good. But I got to travel my first year. I was like seventh, eighth on the cross country team. And
mhm,
then in track, I got a lot better. And I was like one of the top girls from then on. And I
yeah,
got more scholarship every year. And I came out with a full scholarship. And so it was like the perfect place where I wasn't a big fish in a small pond,
yeah,
and the opposite. I wasn't a small fish in a big pond. I was just like
right in the
perfect.
middle there. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, when you talked about, like, the low pressure, I mean, did that kinda help you, like, gradually kinda get better on your own terms, as opposed to, like, someone that, you have all this, like, the coach expects all this because you got a full ride the first year, and you may push yourself too far, too fast, all that. Did that situation allow you to kinda mature in running a little differently maybe than someone else?
I think it did. I
Yeah.
think not being a superstar as a freshman in high school, was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mhm.
I think not being good until I was like, and I think there's many ways to do it. And every way is like good in its own right.
Mhm.
But my specific way, the way I did it, like just like continuously got better and like really found my stride when I was like very mentally and physically mature was like
Yeah.
awesome. Cause I don't know, like if I would be honestly mentally mature to run and train for marathons when I was, out of college. Just because like, yeah, I always had drive, but like I also like had other like things that I thought I was in a hurry to do, like
Mhm.
travel and, explore and
Like, live.
party
Yeah.
and yeah, meet people and be out there. So like that was me as like a girl in her 20s. That's
Yeah.
what I kind of really prioritized, even though I always trained for things.
Yeah. Like, yeah, like, the training was still there because you were obviously getting better, so it's not like you were just, like partying it up and going the opposite direction. I mean, you're definitely advancing, you know.
Yeah.
And then so like through because and this is the Run Eat Sleep show, so I often kind of talk about our relationship to food a little bit. And you've said before that you struggled with your relationship with food at one point. To fast forward, like you'll take 2 weeks off and you get to do whatever you want and kick your feet up and relax and not judge yourself. But could you talk a little bit about your journey with food? Because I think whether us there's extremes, but then there's also people that just like they don't know like if they should feel guilty about certain things,
Yeah.
in with training or whatever. But could you
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. My dog's like trying to like
What kind of dog?
she's just a mutt. She's like really cute mutt, but she's like, I don't know what she's doing, but she's making a lot of noise.
It's like
um
right now of all times.
no, always. Like she's always just chill. But I'm like,
Right.
what? Like, are you kidding me? Okay, so relationship with food, yeah. So complicated and deep and intricate for everyone, I think, just because
Mhm.
there's so many things that go into it. But I mean, here's the thing, like I am built like an athlete, right?
Mhm.
Like by no means am I built like for example, my dad was 100 pounds um when he was in his 30s and
Mhm.
running road races. Like he was tiny.
Like, yeah, thin guy.
Thin, yeah, always he was always like that. And I wore my dad's clothes when he was a professional athlete. He saved his Nike clothes because he was sponsored by Nike, and I could wear them in middle school. And I like rocked them. I loved them. But it was like a stark difference. And
Yeah.
I'm athletic built,
Mhm.
and that's just who I am. And so I think, in high school when you grow up and you're comparing yourself to all
Right.
these people, all these other girls who you're lining up against and running against, it's really easy to go to food. Like
Right.
I need to be smaller. I need to, be thinner. But so that was me in high school, just like trying to not be who I am, who I will
Yeah.
always be. Um, and
Mm,
so
and I think too, like, I mean, obviously with athletics and especially with running, I think the narrative for so long probably is and was that like you had to be the less you weighed, it was easier for you to be faster or something like that. And I mean, you see it on the guys' side too, like that they just feel pressure to not to just be way less,
yeah,
and was
yeah,
that like even if it's not even said out loud, it's like you just naturally, especially at that age, like my daughter's 14, and so like like we don't talk about that per se, but it's like I always try to tell her that like that she's perfect, not I mean I don't say like perfect the way you are, because then as a 14-year-old it's like okay, yeah, sure,
yeah.
but like yeah, don't go too far,
It's not going
but
anywhere. Yeah,
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 it's like, all right, yeah, you had me when you said that you thought I was pretty, like
yeah.
that thing. But like just trying to like have her go out knowing that, that what she is who she is. Not, nothing
Exactly.
perfect, good, bad, whatever. You are who you are.
Yeah.
And we like this person,
Mhm.
and I would assume that like in running that could be a little hard to balance that thought.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and honestly, it's I think everyone goes through like these like waves, right?
Yeah.
There's sometimes where I'm like so confident and so like happy in my body. And then there's other times where I'm not, like especially like when we get nervous for races, like all of
Mhm.
these insecurities just pop out and all this negative stuff. Like that's what I
Yeah.
learned coaching. Like everyone before Boston was just like negative. And I was like, wait, what? Like what happened? And so like that was
Right.
a good learning tool to me because I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to stay positive.
Right, because everybody around me is losing it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, whoa, I need to be the one to be the rock right now,
Right.
you know?
Get it together now.
Yeah. So, I have a really good relationship with food now.
Mhm.
And but it's a learning process, and it will continue to be a learning process. This Boston, I had to taper for 5 weeks. Because I was like I trashed my legs.
Oh my god.
um, so I like started my taper like very early on in hopes of just like recovering. And so by the time I got to the race, I was like, I'm out of shape.
Yeah.
Like I I like I wasn't as fit as I normally am. I wasn't like as like my physique wasn't like how I normally feel.
Mhm.
Um when I start a race, or how I would like to when I start a marathon
Mhm.
specifically.
Mhm.
But so like it was really actually cool. Like one thing running really brought me was like I knew I had to like totally accept my body that day. And so like during my warm up, I was like, I just like was like, I totally accept this body, at least if nothing else, for the next 3 hours. And I am like, this is awesome. I am
Mhm.
like killing it,
Mhm.
And so like running, like I really appreciate it because like it brings you to those places where you're like,
Yeah.
you have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, running is really weird like that. It will take you to some spots where you're just like you would have never like,
Yeah.
I would have never stumbled across, I guess, some of the thoughts and things that
No.
are, like, realizations that I've had, on a run, during just a training block in general,
Yeah.
or in a race,
Mhm.
or, after a race,
Yeah. Before a
Um,
race is probably
yeah,
like when you really go deep,
yeah. It's like, wait, they're
Yeah.
like somebody's like on they're like, "What's your name?" "I don't know."
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even sure.
Exactly.
But I think it's really cool to like to hear like you share stuff like that because it's because we all see you on TV in the race and then after the race, but it's easy to make it seem like you all are different people, and that don't, you there's no way that Nell thought that before the race. Of course, she's 100% confident all the way through, and
Yeah.
that's it. Like, of course, what else would she be other
Right.
than, maybe human, possibly?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think
Um,
that is you're right. That is like a misconception. Like people just see me, and I'm more muscular. And so
yeah,
they're like, wow, and I'm like, yeah, I agree that I'm a badass. And I agree that like it takes I need to be brave and confident
yeah,
when I'm out there, but like that's not me every day,
mm,
and that's not me every minute, and it did take a long time cuz to fake it till you make it
mhm.
to be there,
No, I mean, that's yeah, it's all work. Like that's running is just a journey, and life is too. Like you just have to like every day is different, and like sometimes you just gotta accept where you are and
Mhm.
do your best like that day, like control what you can control, and then
Right.
just go from there. And I guess so. And then when it comes to like your relationship with food, I thought it was really cool to hear that like it was almost somewhat out of necessity that you changed your relationship with it because out of after college you didn't go to the road running, you kind of started leaning into triathlon, right?
Mhm.
So like the necessity of like this is a lot of training kind of like led you to say, "Oh, I need to figure out this food thing." So you kind of switched it more to like negative about like food, like it just being food that you didn't need to eat or whatever weight wise. You looked at it as fuel. And has that like how did that help you change in that perspective to food as fuel?
Mhm. Yeah, I think as a triathlete, like, I was just doing so much volume that,
Yeah.
I you have to make mistakes, right? And I think it was good that I made those mistakes where, like, I didn't feel after a 6-hour ride, um, because I was whatever, trying to lose weight maybe or
Yeah.
something, or wherever my mindset was that day, and, couldn't train the next day, or my training suffered the next day, and then you realize, like, "Okay, I can't do that." And then you eat some food the next time, and you're like, "Wow, I trained hard the next day,"
Yeah.
and it really makes it clear and apparent that, like, food is your friend, and,
Yeah.
you need it.
Yeah, so like just before we like leave out, I don't want to beat a dead horse on that, but like what would you say to like some of the like if there's, high school athlete girl or boy listening right now, or just someone that's kind of like up in the air, not really understanding like where they should go with the food thing because they feel bad to eat some carbs every now and then or whatever. What would
Mhm.
you say to those people if you could talk to them now about food?
I mean, one thing I would say that I think is important when you're in that spot or you're having a hard time or with food is that it's okay that you're in that spot, first of
Right.
all. Like, it's not you're not wrong, you're not doing anything wrong. Um, and it's something that is going to evolve, and it's something that, you need to work on, um, and learn from and makes mistakes. But like, I think as long as you're working on it, then you'll be okay and you'll get
Mhm.
to that spot. But I think there's no forcing. You can't force anything. I think you should seek out help, but I think accepting yourself is the most important thing, which is the hardest thing. So it's like
Yeah.
so hard to say, accept yourself for who you are.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really what it comes down to. And, like, play to your strengths. Like, that's what I learned. Like, okay, actually I'm going to use my body to
Mm.
my advantage because, like, I have strengths, and that's awesome. So if that.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, you're like, no, I think that that's perfect too. I mean, because there's a few different points, and I think that that's the thing about our relationship with anything, in our lives. Just like there's no one thing that's gonna fix it. Like you kind of have to make your own, like build your own philosophy around certain things to kind of make it
Mhm,
work. Like I stopped drinking in like 2017, and I had to go about it like a different way than maybe somebody else did that
mhm,
was maybe in this very similar situation,
mhm, absolutely.
but it did have to it came with acceptance. Like
Mhm,
you can't you have to be like stop for a moment and just be honest, like as with yourself of like where you actually are. Like it doesn't mean you have to be like super proud of it that day, but
mhm,
like you have to just accept it. Like you before Boston this year, you accepted like exactly where you were,
mhm,
and that's all you could do. And because
mhm,
if you don't, then you'll just, that just isn't gonna work out in a marathon or like in life. You gotta accept and then move forward.
mhm. Yeah,
Um,
it's all a journey, it's all learning experiences, and it's all going through the lows
right.
to bring you out of it.
And then and somewhere in there you said that, you look different, when you line up at a race, you look different than some of the people that you race against or with. And in one of your posts, you mentioned that someone told you that a young girl saw you and was super inspired because she was able to see herself in you, because you look different for many different reasons. So in you're Latina out there, and it's not a bunch that are running at that level. So could you what did that mean to you when people say that? Because I'm sure it's not the first time. But how does that feel, and what do you take from that when someone says they're inspired because of the way you look and what you are?
Um, yeah, I think I have to I have to remind myself of like how important that is.
Mhm,
Because especially like, I know I met some like Latino women the other day, and I was like, they were like, I know you always talk about kids, but like we are also inspired. And I'm like, yes, that's amazing. And I talk about kids because like they're so extremely impressionable.
mhm,
And if they can even like be inspired by any female athlete or whatever their passion is,
mhm,
to be in that position, it's like I'm like super honored, and it inspires me and it motivates me. And like anything I can do, I like cannot believe I'm in this position
mhm,
to do that. So it's honestly, it's everything. Like if I'm like having a bad day and like I get a message, I'm like, boom,
mm.
like stop your bad mood and just like you're in this incredible position. Like, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because yeah, definitely, like, representation matters, like, on, when it comes to, like, you being a Latina woman,
Mhm.
it's like we don't know, like, I'm not famous by any means, you know, whatever, but
Neither
just
am I.
well, I mean, well, we'll see. But after this, you will be. After
Mhm,
this,
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
this is gonna be this is the stepping stone to you
This is
actually
the
being
one.
famous. So you're welcome now.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. But you know, like the just simply seeing, you know, for like somebody seeing me do whatever I do, which is not like a bunch, but just seeing that little small things like definitely helps in kind of gives people, you know, the like I want to do that too, or I could do that. Even if I don't want to do it, like I that's cool to see that someone's out there doing that. But it just must mean like a ton to, you know, a young girl that's, you know, that is running track, that is maybe not built like everyone else on the team,
Mhm.
and feels like that's a negative, but then they then sees you that's like built the same way or similar, that's like, okay, that's cool. Like I can accept my body the way it is at this point, you know, and work on it however it works, you know. And then also just representing from the nationality standpoint, it's that's huge, like especially in this sport that you know running is I mean it's a very white sport, you know, and it's getting better, but it's still like that moment when you have to realize that like just little small um like small representation points can do so much, you know. And even if it's like I'm sure that it's not just girls either, it's like there's people everywhere that are looking like, wow, that's really dope that she's running like this, and she is who she is, and she's not changing, and she's not trying to fit in, like she's just doing her thing. And I'm super inspired by it as well, so I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, right back at you, man. I think what you're doing is awesome.
Well, I'm glad I could inspire you. It's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
And and then so I just kinda wanna talk 'cause, like, you're so how many marathons have you done? 5 so far?
5.
5, okay. So, so the first one was CIM in 2018,
Mhm,
right? And
mhm,
then and then the last one was 2020 Boston. So, could you 'cause we all go through our, like, our growth and things like that throughout the way, like, I think your first time was 2:31:33, not too shabby at all.
mhm. Yep.
And then your last one was 2:25:27. Very different course though, but,
Right.
a
Yeah,
little different.
a little different.
But, like, can you talk to me about, like, the difference, like, versus those, like, the thoughts and the feelings of that first one to the last one?
Oh, I mean, yeah, the first one, like, I definitely trained for, like, I definitely trained hard for, but I didn't, come here. I didn't that was a carefree marathon. That was
Mhm,
like, let's find out what marathons are all about. Let's learn from this experience
mhm,
and let's like move forward. Here's my
right.
dog. She's like being super
Hey.
needy. Buddy. There she
Aw,
is. um, but so like I was very happy after my first marathon. I was very happy after CIM, but every marathon, like I invested more time into
mhm,
it. I had, it was just like they just get more. I just learn something different from every single one. This last
mhm,
one being I definitely learned the most from. And so I think they get more like special as you go.
mhm.
Um, and as you go deeper into the sport.
So you said you learned the most out of this last one. What are some of the things you learned from this one that you were kinda surprised maybe that you learned?
Oh man, I would say like like the cliche, like I know a lot of people say this, but like your buildup does not have to be perfect
Mm, mm,
um, to run a really good race.
mhm,
So that was important. Like you cannot like, if you have a couple bad workouts in a row, like don't panic,
yeah,
like just keep on going through it, keep on putting
yeah.
the effort in, keep on putting yourself in a position to do well, regardless of like how it's going.
And then but, like, I've heard people say that before where it's like you know, 1 or 2 workouts doesn't make the training block, you know, no 1, 2, 3, 4 runs make the entire training block.
Mhm.
It's a long process.
Yeah.
But, like, going into a marathon and maybe not with the best, training, right?
Mhm.
what are like, so what's the equation? Like, what do you think that kind of gets you from like not having the best experience in this build up to converting like that into a good marathon still? Because that's, I mean, we hear it as amateurs and all that, and I think we may even experience it sometimes. But from your standpoint, like, what's that thing that was like covers the gap?
Effort.
Effort.
Well, if the effort's there, like in
Mhm.
your workout, say in your thresholds, your 10,
Oh,
15,
got it.
your
Got it.
paces, if you put the effort in, like my effort was there the whole build. Like
Mm,
I had very high effort, very like got I think I missed one. I actually only missed one workout due to
mhm.
like just being too fatigued. But so I finished almost every workout. The effort was there. And so once you basically, taper, go to sea level, get in the race, have those nerves, like that all translates over.
And yeah, because I think yeah, because I was thinking from a different side, but it's like um because a lot often we all always thinking about times,
Yeah.
paces, obviously, and
Yeah.
you got to hit your
Limits.
paces, all
Yeah.
that. And so on those days, like say if for your athletes, so if on those
Mhm.
days where they're supposed to hit this pace or this range and they can't get to it, how do you position that to kind of lean into the thought of effort? Because it's hard to be okay with it, like
Mhm. Oh,
in the
yeah.
process it's like you feel like you're failing a workout. It's like hard to back off and think about it differently. So what's your advice on switching from maybe being so spot on a time to effort?
Yeah, I would say looking at the big picture and knowing like all the factors that go into every workout.
Hmm.
Like sometimes like that great day just isn't there. So like just just you like or you're like it's like windy outside. Like when I write paces for my athletes, they're like, "Oh, I'm so upset I didn't hit the paces." And then like I end up talking to them. I'm like, well, you ran in a torrential downpour and
Yeah,
like 80-mile
right,
gusts. I'm like, no, I didn't expect you to hit the pit. I wrote that for a perfect day,
right.
like so just like knowing that like we're human, you can't control everything. There's a bunch of factors going into it, not getting discouraged by it, is super important for training.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times I've done that. Like I've raced in just a terrible conditions like of a race and PR'd, PR'd the race, but then was like upset because I was definitely more fit than this and
Yes. Yeah.
my time didn't show it. And then like they're like the wind was, why would you even think that this was like, why are you upset? But you
Yeah.
just can't, I can't help it.
Right, exactly, you're putting yeah, so and, like, it even happens to me sometimes, and I have to be like, "Okay, it was windy, it was windy, it was windy," but, you know
D do you have do you, since you've run Boston twice, do you have to do that with the time of, the Boston Marathon too? Like, to say, like, "I'm much more fit than, this time?"
Of course, yeah. I mean, like, I can say, like, "Okay, had XXX happen, like, I think I could have run this,"
Mhm.
but, you know, anyone that's going to Boston, I'm like, let's first understand what Boston is. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's not a PR course and that's okay. Like I
Right.
would have been happy this Boston if I had just run a solid race and like maybe run sub 230. I would have
Mhm.
been happy and like moved on.
Mhm. And so, now that so we could talk about Boston a little bit, you so 2021, I think one of the things that you were focusing on during the race was covering moves.
Mhm.
Instead of like speed, like and just going all out and and you were probably everyone was trying to cover your moves at that point because you ran
Right.
it a
Yeah.
little differently.
Yeah.
But like, so what was the if covering the moves was somewhat of a theme for 2021, what was the theme for 2022 for you?
Um, I would say finishing the race, with a solidly, like, just,
Okay.
like, finishing the race. Um, like, getting through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did like coming because like so you not like to make it like they have to match or whatever like parallel, but going to college you didn't have like a ton of or university going a ton of expectation from like anyone
Mhm.
because you're a walk on. Did that same type of mentality did that help you going into this Boston? I mean, even though you were first American woman last year too, did you feel pressure because of that? And then also, did you feel less pressure on yourself um, because of the way the training block went? You know, that's kind of two questions, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think I didn't. I actually took the pressure completely off myself because of the training block.
Hmm.
And then it worked out perfectly because the race took the pressure off of me because of the other competitors who were in the race.
Hmm.
So I didn't feel any pressure. I mean, like, yeah, there are like, I have like friends and family who are like, I'm so, coming to watch me, or I'm so excited to watch you crush. I know you're going to do well, which, sometimes you're like, oh, that's a lot of pressure. But
Yeah, yeah,
I was able to rein it in and be like, okay, like I don't have any expectations for placement. I don't have any expectations for time
hmm,
because of the amazing field I was running in. So it allowed me to just like kind of like run my own race, which
yeah.
was awesome.
And just to bounce around a little bit too, because I know you are a coach as well. And what's what I like to ask some of the people that are on the show that are also coaches, like what's one thing that a couple things that you've learned because of your coaching that you've then implemented into your running?
I think honestly, a lot of it is um, just like a lot of it is trusting the process.
Hmm.
So like I know that my athletes have to trust the process and they have to trust me because sometimes they get nervous and
Yeah.
they're like, I need to run more. And I'm like, oh, don't do that, So like knowing, like trusting that, staying positive, not reacting to every good day and not reacting to every bad
Oh, I
day.
love that.
Yeah. I think those are the three things that like I really learn from my athletes because I see them do it and I'm like, oh, but they're doing so great, but they forgot about their amazing workout they did 2 days ago
Yeah,
because they just had a bad workout. I'm like, they're
yeah,
so fit.
yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, runners, or I think just people. I was gonna say runners, but people like have a real tendency to like on a bad day of something, just completely like down ourselves, go extra, deep
Mhm.
down into the pity party or whatever. Like, as if you don't jump up and down every time you do something like great, like if you're not screaming and doing laps around, just because you're so awesome, then don't do the opposite of that. Like on a bad day, like don't drag
Exactly.
yourself through the mud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You're
and
tired.
so did you have runners in Boston? Some
Yeah,
of
I
your
had about a dozen.
yeah, I said a dozen.
I had about a dozen. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, sorry. My friend just came inside. Um,
Yeah, so what was that like? What did you think about them at all? Like, I mean, if they're listening, it's okay if you didn't. But did you think about them at all, like during your run? Like, did you have like a random thought? Like, I wonder how.
um, Probably, yeah. I have a lot of random thoughts during
Oh,
marathons.
I think we all do. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely thought about them. Definitely like the morning of the race, they were definitely in my mind. And after the race, they were definitely in my mind. And like probably during the race they were, but like I don't have any specific
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah. Just because I'm random, what's the like craziest thing you've thought about like during a race that almost like surprised you? Like, what am I doing?
That's funny.
Yeah.
I can't, I have no idea, but like, yes.
Yes,
Many
many of them.
things. Yes. Like random things. Like probably during Boston, I was probably like, oh, I forgot to call Sue back who needs a check for my website.
What?
Like things
Yeah.
like that where I'm like, this is not the time.
No,
You know,
it's not. Get
this
it.
is
Well,
yeah, like
I mean, I guess though, like, 'cause I've been on like a training run or whatever that was supposed to be difficult, and I mean it was, but like I found myself thinking about like other things in like the last interval. And to me, that's a good sign
yeah,
because
okay.
I mean, maybe you should be focusing, maybe,
Yeah.
but at some point though, it's like, well, I'm not like in pain cave right now,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm kind of able to think about like what I'm supposed to do tomorrow.
Mhm.
It's opposite of like be present, but it's a good
No,
thing.
I agree because like definitely the last 5K of Boston this year, I was daydreaming and I was like out of it, and then I would come back and I would be like, oh no, I need to go back. I need to get back out of
Oh
it.
yeah. This is not good. Yeah, back
This is
out.
not good.
Abort.
It's not good to be present right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
abort. Yeah, like on this hill, it's okay to think about Sue in the
Yeah.
check and how
Yeah.
much it was supposed to be for,
Yeah.
and what you're gonna say to her when you talk to her again, because
Right.
like, hey, I know the check's supposed to be there, but yeah,
Sorry, Sue.
make up your story. I was running a race, something like that. I
Exactly.
think she'd believe you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so like let's can we talk about like strength training too? Because if someone goes to your Instagram, it's a lot of training, a lot of like in the gym strength training. So how much do you I mean, obviously it's a big part of your life and career, because a lot of runners, like you ask them like, hey, what do you do like for like cross training? And it's like, I don't do that much, I just run, which is fine because it works for some people. But why has like strength training been such a part of your life in your career?
Um, I think it must have just, I got really into strength training because my friends were OCR, obstacle course racing athletes,
Mm,
and I was an obstacle course racer for a little bit, and so like really ramped the strength training up. I owned a gym before that became a thing though. So like basically what happened was I did strength training after college because like I don't know, I just gravitated towards
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And I think because of the way I looked, it just gets even like people
yeah,
ask me about it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah,
like it becomes a thing that I'm
yeah,
like strong. And
yeah,
so it just naturally progresses into like Nell's the strength girl,
yeah.
And so, I got really into it. And I think, which was really important for my career, because I think I have this enormous base of strength where like
Mhm.
now I can kind of like back off, and kind of like do more like running specific, a little bit lighter, a little bit
Mhm.
like more, like not quite as intense strength, but I still get a major benefit from it because I have
Right.
that big strength background and I didn't skip any steps.
Right. Like during a training block, you're able to drop the weights a little bit, and still get a lot of benefit during the high mileage as well. Like, because I mean, some people probably during the higher mileage things, they have to kind of pull back on the strength training because it's maybe not, I guess like in their DNA, not DNA, but like it's just not built in at this point.
Hmm.
But so you're probably able to strength train much longer into like a training block maybe than someone else
Hmm. Right.
because of like the background.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's probably intimidating too, like you get to the start line and you look
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm trying to definitely
yeah.
like I know they're looking at my guns,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I know what's going
Yeah,
on.
you don't wear arm sleeves on purpose.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, the sun's out, guns out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and yeah, I made the mistake. I wore sleeves in Boston, and I still had like this weird like tan.
oh,
Yeah, because the sun was out that day, and it was like one sided. That's the one thing about. That's the bad thing about point to point is like you're
one
gonna
side.
get one side, one
Yeah,
side.
yeah. Yeah, did you wear those just to look cool, or why'd you go with the arm sleeves?
Well, I feel like your tone. I feel like you're trying to make fun of me right now, and it's working because I feel
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah. No,
Um,
I don't want you to feel terrible.
no, I think so. I think I wore them for my first race
Mhm,
because I
mhm.
thought it looked cool.
Yeah, because it does.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Eliud Kipchoge wears
Yeah.
them, like, so,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. You're like, "Yes,
what
I'm definitely putting these
who
on."
am I? Who am
Yeah,
I
yeah,
to
yeah.
say that they shouldn't be worn?
Right.
Um, no, I wore them the first time, and I put my gels in the sleeves
Oh,
for
nice.
the first time. So then it's like, this is the thing, like, I
Yeah,
have to wear them, you
yeah.
know?
Yep,
And so it just continued that,
yep.
and I wore them again. And I don't know now, though, if I could go back.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
think
I don't wear them for shorter races like 5Ks or anything like that because
no,
I think you're it's kinda ridiculous.
it's a little overboard.
Yeah. And it was chilly that day a little bit, right? I'm just
Yeah,
gonna blame it I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
blame it on
Like,
you.
chilly enough to, like people were like, chilly enough to be like, "Yeah, he might be wearing arm sleeves," but, like, probably just because of the style factor.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Dang it. I just knew. I knew. Now next time I race, now I'm gonna have to think about it. Like,
No, I like it though. Embrace it. Just
oh,
seriously like it.
it's far too late now. No,
Yeah.
like you've already sowed the seed of doubt, and here we are.
Yeah.
um, and one thing you said, like, too, about if we could get off my arm sleeves, that'd be great.
Yeah.
One thing you talked about before was like small progress, like making small progress, and how like big of a role that played like in your career, and you've been able to just chip away at things, as opposed to like this big jump, because all of us want like this really big jump. Like, we want this one training block to go so well that we PR by like 20 minutes. And we're happy with that. But like, can you talk to me too about like your mindset on that small progress and how we could benefit from that instead of looking for the big thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, if you start with too much effort, too much volume that you're not ready for, and you start here, where are we? You're gonna you're gonna plateau right here, right? And not only are you gonna plateau, but you're gonna be discouraged because you're not gonna be able to keep on PRing a little bit, and you're mentally gonna be like, man, like I should just give up. I'm not getting better. Whereas if you start down here, where are we? You can just keep on going up and up and up. So you have to think of the long-term picture, and you have to be patient, because this is like, you can have a long career in marathons, like when you start them, and you can keep getting faster into your mid 40s. So let's take advantage of that whole thing. Yeah.
And speaking of getting faster in your mid 40s, or just like towards your 40s, because you're 34 right now. Sweet. And what?
Don't say the wrong word.
I know. I'm like, you're 39 right now.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, is he gonna say 40?
You're getting close.
Yeah.
Like, end of interview. This is
I'm like, I liked him, but
ever.
no.
Yeah, this was cool until right then. I was gonna try to get you back on the arm sleeve thing, but I had to try to save the episode.
Right.
So two things. Number one, like, I believe you're so right, because you look at like Sarah Hall, and she's like 42, and you look at Akira D'Amato, she's 39. So it's like you can obviously just kind of chip away and have fun and keep working, and it works out. And so you have definitely a long road ahead of you, which is just dope to see, because how much you're doing already. But then also, you tried to finish to do like the Kira D'Amato like finish line thing.
Oh, I tried.
Yeah, you tried. Have you thought any more about that? Like, are you gonna? So what I'm talking about for people listening or watching, if you don't know, Kira D'Amato, when she came across the finish line, I think it was like in Houston, maybe Chevron or something like that. Was it? And she crossed the finish line like with her arms like an airplane, and she just like, she looked sweet going through. And then she looked good going through. And then Nell in 2021 Boston, you tried, but it didn't really work out because it's a different course too. So you had to deal with a little different stuff than she did. So are you gonna try to perfect this finish line pose?
I perfected it. I did it.
You did it?
I didn't do it last October because I tried. That was when I tried, but it didn't work. I did it. I could retire early. I could die happy.
Yeah.
This finish line, I mean, let's see some photos. They're good.
Yeah, they're good. Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud that you got to this point. Now you just gotta do something. Next time you gotta like go like jumping through or something. Like, you gotta keep one up in it.
Oh my gosh.
Slow, steady progress.
Yeah. I started working on my touchdown dance like right after Boston.
This one. So if you do a touchdown like type celebration at the next marathon,
it's gonna happen.
I don't know like if the world can take it. Like, I think
I know.
I think that like all the pictures on all the magazines will be like in the middle of this dance, and it's gonna be the best thing ever. And you'll be able to say like, I really announced this whole thing
Yeah.
on the Run Eat Sleep show.
Mhm.
So check it
And we'll
out
both be
because
famous.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah. I'm a little farther ahead than you are right now, but we'll
Right.
be that touchdown dance will probably level it out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yes. So I just want to say, number one, like I said it earlier, you inspire so many people. And thank you so much for sharing on many things, about your relationship with food, about, looks, about leaning into who you are as a person and accepting that, and then working with all the strengths and things that you have instead of, trying to downplay them to be someone else that you're not. So thank you so much for that. But then also just thanks for representing, people of color in the space because it means just more than more than you know. So I want to say thank you for that. But then if you could just leave us with something, maybe whatever you feel like, whatever's on your heart to tell people that are out there that are, training and trying to get better and use running as a platform to just improve themselves as an all-around human being.
I honestly would just tell anyone that is a runner, has aspirations to do anything. I would just tell them like, you belong just as much as I belong. Like specifically to like runners in the running community, like every single person has their part in the running community, and
Yeah.
so like just know that they're like a very important part of it and that like they belong.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, that's perfect. I mean, because sometimes it's easy to, be one of the few in a big situation and know that you want to be there, that you worked hard to be there,
Mhm.
but then also like somewhere way back, like you don't really feel like you belong there, like you feel like an outsider.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you, whoever you are and what you are, is people connect for so many different reasons, and it may not be the obvious reason that you think that they connect with you because of, so just be yourself, lean into it because it's what you do, and that's why we all like watching you win. So
Thank you. Yeah.
keep going.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all the success. And if you're still watching this, make sure that you please run, eat, sleep, and repeat. Thank
Awesome.
you, Nell.
Yeah. Thank you.